Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today, as yet again we see another day where XRP is dominating the market. At 52 cents, XRP continues to act in a decoupled manner from the rest of token prices. Binance gets sued, XRP doesn't give a damn. And let me tell you all something right now. We're in a brief window in time where we can finally be happy. See this token rise in value, get some chips off the table, and begin to see the fruits of our labor. You don't believe me? It's still true. The last couple months, I've been stating a moment like this was coming, and with a judge decision coming at any given moment, we're also beginning to see Congress act. And ladies and gentlemen, today they made the announcement that Gary Gensler is going to have to testify in front of the Financial Services Committee on April 18th. And in my personal opinion, all I want to see is Gary Gensler get cucked out by the entire US Congress. He's annihilated the crypto sector. He's annihilated innovation. He has destroyed financial markets, and he deserves to go away. I can't stress this enough. And here's a brief example from Pat McHenry, stating what needs to be said by our current politicians towards Gary.
Talking about this backstage, you made oversight of the SEC a very important part of your chairmanship. You said you'd bring in Gary Gensler, more regulatory, to have more overview than he has had in the past. We're hearing he's going to show up now in mid-April. Give us a preview.
April 18th.
Some news, folks.
This will be our first oversight hearing of the Securities Exchange Commission. This will be about his rulemaking and his approach to digital assets. It'll be a large focus on general oversight of the Securities Exchange Commission, but in terms of policy, a serious approach for us laying down what I hope to spend the next couple of months on, which is a regulatory sphere for digital assets. But he'll be there on April 18th, and glad that we finally are able to announce that and get that going. This will be the first of many regulatory hearings we have through the summer.
Oh, what a time to be alive, as the United States Congress is finally getting around to grilling the current SEC chair for driving innovation overseas. The innovation going overseas is now talking about how it's embracing the technology. Hong Kong regulators are assisting crypto firms with banking in an effort to become a digital crypto hub. Why is it that overseas they can get their shit together, but because of this little weasel and Gary Gensler, we have to suffer? Gary Gensler alone has destroyed potentially trillions of dollars of growth for the United States of America. And I can't stress this enough. John Deaton was on a Twitter Spaces recently talking about this exact topic. And I want you all to hear how frustrated we all need to be and finally rally together in a pushback attempt against the vermin of crypto.
But when Mark says don't fight the government, so what's Coinbase do? Shut down? When Mark says listen to the government, who? When the government says it's regulators, Gary Gensler, who won't be there 3 years from now? Well, what about when it's Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman? They say Ethereum's not a security, but a new chairman says ETH is a security or implies it. You have to fight the government when the government is corrupt and they overreach. Coinbase met 30 times. Coinbase has a broker dealer license for securities and said which one of these tokens are securities. And the government says, we don't tell you, we don't give advice. The SEC says, we're not going to tell you which ones are securities, even though we're saying you're listing securities. Okay, these are assets in the secondary market. Okay, and you have a government regulator who is absolutely crushing this industry for purpose. If you talk about the Hamas language, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Ripple case when they talked about they used fraud like language, even though they didn't allege fraud against the executives. It's because it inflames people's emotions. When you talk about terrorists, that terrorist Hamas language in the complaint is absolutely not necessary or arguably relevant to the underlying swap and derivatives charges. It's there to create the narrative for Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler to say, look, Bitcoin included is still being used primarily for illicit purposes to fund terrorism. It is a campaign that is coordinated, intended. And I'm telling you, what's going to happen is they're going to crush this market until the incumbents come in and get a bigger slice. Go on Crypto Law US, my site. Gary Gensler in April 2018 at MIT discusses this issue. He says the incumbent players are not going to let this happen. He goes on to say that the disruptors will have to pay up to 50% of their business.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is video evidence of Gary Gensler while he was at MIT stating these crypto firms will have to give up even 50% of their business just to be able to survive. Why? Because the big boys, the Wall Street monopolies, they need a bigger slice of the pie. They miss the initial foundation and creation of this digital asset space. So the one thing that they can do is whip out the big guns, crash the market, and do their absolute best to buy these companies pennies on the dollar. Why do you think these banks supporting crypto businesses got shut down? So that the big boys, they could be the ones that bank crypto. Oh, you think it's a coincidence? I'm tired of hearing that phrase. I'm so done with it. The synchronistic rollout of this financial system and this new fourth industrial revolution is happening in real time. And the saying that I've been echoing for years is coming into play. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they try to fight you, and then we win. Right now they're giving us a battle, but the finish line to our victory is one step away. Don't you forget it. And not only that, but we had a massive endorsement today from Cathie Wood, one of Wall Street's favorite individuals, stating she believes Ripple's gonna beat the SEC in this lawsuit. That was a massive endorsement. And I believe we're gonna get a decision justifying that endorsement at any given moment.
Well, the SEC, as Grayscale is showing in court, has been extremely inconsistent here. It has approved a Bitcoin futures ETF, which is subject to swaps risk, but it will not approve a Bitcoin spot ETF, which is not subject to that risk. So it's highly inconsistent. And I think the SEC will lose the Grayscale case. They just lost the Binance Voyager case. Binance is being allowed to buy out Voyager assets. And there is another case, yes, the Ripple case. It seems like they might be on the way to losing that as well. So, yes, we do think there's going to be a Bitcoin ETF. We don't, this court case. I think that the verdict, if that's what you call it at this stage, will come out in June, and then I would expect the choice to be put to the SEC. Either you shut down the Bitcoin futures ETF that you approved, or you approve a Bitcoin spot ETF.
Now guys, why was that video so important? That video was so important because the overall context of the conversation was centered more around a Bitcoin ETF than it was about the Binance Voyager acquisition, than it was around the Ripple case itself. But Cathie Wood was showing how the SEC is losing a lot of ground with regulators. Everyone in the XRP army, I have an important message for you. Right now, the SEC is losing ground to the CFTC, which is why I think they had so much confidence in putting out that Binance lawsuit. Right now, the SEC lost ground with the Voyager case. They're being looked at by the court system as being unjust and unfair. Their sole mission in the United States is to serve and protect us. We pay for them. And yet they want to destroy our wealth and our opportunity. Cathie Wood isn't necessarily paying too much attention to the Ripple case, but even she knows that this case is looking like a potential victory for crypto and Ripple. And with the overall context in place, I need to mention this Bitcoin ETF very quickly. You see, Cathie Wood, she talked about how Bitcoin futures got passed by the SEC. But then a Bitcoin spot ETF, that's taken years to get through the SEC. For those of you at home that don't understand why, I'm going to tell you. Bitcoin futures is a tool that helps to short the market, while a Bitcoin spot ETF would be a tool to help long this market and allow for price appreciation to grow. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make something very clear. The moment Bitcoin futures came into the market December 2017 is the moment the all-time high of Bitcoin came in, and then the market went crashing into a 4-year bear market. That is not a coincidence. That is what that tool was made for. But here we are, years later, to a position where the SEC could be forced to get a Bitcoin ETF on the table. That would be magical, and that would line up the infrastructure in place to allow for a healthy Bitcoin bull run and overall crypto bull run down the road. But right now, the big overall macro crypto indicator we need to be looking at, not just the XRP army, but every single crypto community, is the outcome of this Ripple case. Because like Bilal Little stated in this interview with CoinDesk, when you look at the efficiency in moving capital around the globe with our banking system, that's a very, very important aspect of the settlement side of things. In my opinion, there's no coincidence that as a banking crisis is occurring, as a financial currency war is happening, as we're heading into a recession, XRP's gaining momentum, price action, and a decision on this case is about to be made by the judge. Ripple, the United States, right now in this moment in time. The United States right now in this moment in time need Ripple and XRP more than Ripple and XRP needs them. If Ripple went overseas tomorrow, all of their problems would be solved. Who gives a damn if they can't tap into the US markets? The US markets will want to tap into them in the future anyway. Ripple has executed a successful global takeover already, and the only question left will be answered by this judge in a couple days. Will the US get to participate in a global financial paradigm shift? Or will they get left behind? That's the only thing left to be determined. And the question's about to be answered.
And you also actually seen a pop with XRP, right? Which is another interesting component of this whole conversation, because when you look at efficiency and moving capital around the globe with our banking system, that's a very, very important aspect of the settlement side of things. And what's happening there is a lot of interesting insights as far as contracts, partnerships that have already laid the groundwork, that's playing nicely with regulators. And I think that's the other side of this conversation that we haven't had yet.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you about XRP, which just surged to a 5-month high, even amidst all this turmoil. But isn't that possibly just about the potential coming resolution to the SEC XRP case, which has been brewing for a while? And I mean, that's how I read that surge.
Yeah, I think that's one piece of it, but for whatever reason, I like to unpack a little more of the conversation. And here's the other part. Whether they win or they lose, it doesn't matter, to be honest with you. They still have those long-term institutional partnerships in which they will still be able to move value across the internet. And in my personal opinion about this, and the way I think about this is, if they are made an example of, it's still not a bad thing, right? The world is stage. Let's kind of quote Shakespeare thinking about that. It's all right. Rather they win or rather they lose, they're still going to be able to play a pivotal role representing Bank of America and several other large institutions in moving capital around the world, providing liquidity to both those small and regional financial institutions. I think that's what we're seeing on the back end.
And ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't have said it better myself. Now guys, to cap off this video for today, Crypto Mason has been on an absolute tear, as he reported that MoneyGram was just named winner of the best use of blockchain in fintech, all because of Stellar's XLM. The award honors our first of its kind global on-off ramp service for digital wallets in partnership with Stellar. Remember that because of the Ripple SEC lawsuit, MoneyGram and Ripple had to halt their partnership. Then Stellar came into play, and XLM was serving the role that XRP used to be during that partnership. Now, XRP's little brother Stellar is over here in the spotlight, gaining traction, gaining awards, and all of this is no coincidence. All of this is great news. Something every single one of you need to understand is Ripple and XRP, Stellar and XLM, they happen to succeed and move in price together. Their prices are heavily correlated. And if Stellar's doing well, XRP's doing well. It's never been about them being in competition. I think that's a fallacy. The reality is that they're going to be working together to be tackling different niches within a similar use case. Their utility and adoption is coming very, very soon, my friends. And watch as everything on this channel that we've been talking about for years unfolds at an accelerated rate. The clock is ticking. The time is now. We're almost across the finish line. And I smell victory in the air. Trust me when I say, there's going to be a moment, a beautiful moment, where the XRP army will all rise up together, and in harmony, we'll all say fuck the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors? Former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany? Former business director at Swift? Former Swift board member? Former CFO of PayPal? Former head of the DTCC? Former chief business officer at Uber? Former VP of Amazon? Amazon and former SEC chair on their legal team, Ripple, who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's High-Level Advisory Board on FinTech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website, Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.